how can a major American city publish official statistics showing a huge drop in violent crime, yet have most of its residents say they're living in fear?
It's a really deep paradox, and it's happening right now in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're looking into this crisis of confidence in Charlotte, and the sources you've given us, they confirm it. The citywide violent crime rate is officially down by 20% year over year.
Which is a number any mayor would, shout from the rooftops.
Absolutely. On paper, it's a huge public safety win. But then you see the other side. A recent survey shows nearly two-thirds of the people there, 66%, feel less safe.
And that's the whole story, that disconnect.
So what's behind it?
Well, the fear is justified. It really is. Because the overall data, it hides these pockets of intense local devastation. The statistics are masking concentrated surges of lethal violence in really key areas.
Okay, like where?
For instance, your notes show that the murder rate in Uptown Charlotte, the city's commercial and financial core, it surged.
By how much?
By 200% compared to the year before.
200%. So wait, even if, say, 80% of the city is technically safer, why does that one number in Uptown just erase all the good news?
Because Uptown is the city's engine. It's where everyone goes to work, to eat, for entertainment. It's not just an abstract number, it's a collapse of perceived safety in the one place people have to go.
So that fear just becomes the dominant narrative.
It paralyzes community life. And nothing, I mean nothing, amplified that fear more than what happened on the public transit system.
The LYNX Blue Line light rail.
Exactly. Two shocking stabbings that, when you look at them together, just expose failures at every level. Local, federal, all of it.
Let's start with the first one.
The first tragedy was the fatal stabbing of a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, Iryna Zarutska, in August 2025. She came to America for safety and was killed on her daily commute.
And the suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr. Let's talk about his history, because this is what directly sparked a massive legislative response.
It is. Our sources show he had, 14 prior arrests in Mecklenburg County.
14. Since 2007. So this wasn't some random act. Critics would say this was the direct result of a local justice system that's just a revolving door.
It consistently failed to keep a repeat violent offender off the streets.
Yes.
And then, just a few months later, it happened again.
The second light rail stabbing, December 2025.
And this time, the suspect, Oscar Solorzano, he was charged with attempted first-degree murder. And his case just blew the whole conversation wide open.
Because this wasn't just about the local justice system anymore.
No. This became a national security issue.
Solorzano was an illegal immigrant from Honduras, and the key fact here is that he had been deported multiple times before this attack.
Multiple times. He was deported once in 2018 under the Trump administration, and then deported twice more under the Biden administration.
3 times. And he still came back.
He came back. And critically, he came back as what Border Patrol calls a gotaway.
And what does that mean exactly? For someone listening, what is a gotaway?
A gotaway is someone who they physically crossed the border illegally and just vanished into the community. They were never caught, never processed, never identified by authorities.
So the system has no idea who they are or that they're even here.
Exactly. And Solorzano's case, committing this violence in Charlotte, it just starkly shows the consequences when the border fails to stop someone like that from cycling right back into the country.
So you have a justice system that lets a guy with 14 arrests walk free, and an immigration system that lets a guy deported 3 times just waltz back in and, commit attempted murder.
And that creates this profound sense of helplessness. Residents look at that and they think the system isn't built to protect them, no matter what the citywide stats say.
Which leads us right into the political firestorm.
Yes. The failures in these 2 cases put a brutal spotlight on the local government's relationship. Or, maybe, lack of a relationship with federal immigration enforcement.
So what's the core policy conflict here?
It's all about what's known as sanctuary jurisdiction policy. In Charlotte, the main issue is that the local police department, the CMPD, had a standing policy to refuse what are called detainer requests from federal agencies like ICE.
And in simple terms, what's a detainer request?
It means if CMPD arrests someone for, say, a serious local crime, and ICE identifies that person as a deportable illegal immigrant, ICE asks the local police to just hold them for up to 48 hours.
Just long enough for federal agents to come and pick them up.
Right. But Charlotte police were refusing those requests, so they'd release the person back into the community even if ICE was on their way. It effectively handcuffed federal enforcement.
And that policy forced a pretty direct federal response.
A massive one. In mid-November 2025, the federal government launched this huge targeted operation called Charlotte's Web.
Designed to do what local law enforcement wouldn't.
Exactly. In a single weekend, they made over 130 arrests of illegal immigrants who were also charged with serious crimes. The stated goal from CBP was to remove, and this is their term, violent, criminal, illegal aliens, so residents can live without fear.
A direct shot at the city's safety claims.
Absolutely. And this is where you see the political divide just crack wide open. While the feds were trying to remove these threats, local leaders, including Governor Stein, actually criticized the operation.
Saying what?
They argued that the federal enforcement itself fosters fear and is not making the city safer.
So let me get this straight. The local policy of not cooperating leads to a violent crime. The feds come in to remove other violent criminals, and the local leaders say that is what's causing fear.
That's the argument they made. It completely ignores the consequences of their non-cooperation policy, which the Solorzano case made tragically clear.
And the Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners, they actually passed a resolution backing the immigrant community and demanding transparency from the feds. Not from the criminals, from the feds.
The political gulf is just. It's immense. But the sheer number of arrests from Charlotte's Web, plus the Solorzano attack, it just strengthened the argument that these local sanctuary policies were a direct threat to public safety.
And we know that high-profile tragedy, it often forces change when nothing else will.
It's often the only catalyst. The killing of Iryna Zarutska by a man with 14 prior arrests led almost immediately to this sweeping state criminal justice reform.
Iryna's Law, House Bill 307, signed in October 2025.
Right. And this law was basically the state government hitting the emergency brake. They looked at Mecklenburg County and saw a crucial one. It mandated GPS monitoring for a whole category of serious violent offenses, things like murder and arson, as a required condition for pretrial release.
So if a judge does let you out, the community at least has the assurance of electronic monitoring.
It's a tangible shift away from policies that, as critics argued, put the rights of the accused way ahead of public safety.
The law also went after the nature of the crime itself, on public transit, and it brought capital punishment into the discussion.
It did. It established that if a victim is on public transportation when the crime occurs, that now counts as an aggravating factor when prosecutors seek the death penalty.
And what does aggravating factor mean in legal terms?
It's a circumstance that makes the crime more severe. To seek the death penalty, a prosecutor has to prove one of these factors exists. So the state is now saying that an attack on a commuter, which undermines public safety for everyone, is among the most serious crimes you can commit.
And the law also pushed to revive capital punishment itself.
Yes, by directing the state to find alternative execution methods if lethal injection isn't available. It was a clear signal of political will.
And it looks like the state legislature isn't stopping there. They're now going after the sanctuary issue directly with the new bill.
Senate Bill 153, the North Carolina Border Protection Act. And this could be a total game changer.
Why? What does it do?
Two main things. First, it pushes local communities to sign what are called 287G agreements with ICE.
Which would let local officers act with some federal immigration authority, right?
Yes, it lets them screen people for immigration status and process detainers directly. It basically bypasses a local non-cooperation policy by integrating the two.
Okay, and what's the second part?
The second part is, well, it's radical. It would allow victims of crimes committed by illegal immigrants to sue any city or county that's designated as a sanctuary jurisdiction.
So you're saying it introduces direct financial liability for these policies?
Exactly. It tells local leaders, if your policy of non-cooperation helps cause a preventable crime, your city will pay for the damages. It attaches a price tag to a philosophical stance.
Now, some older national data has suggested there isn't a general link between illegal immigration and crime rates. How does that square with what's happening here?
The argument being made now is that while those generalized older stats exist, they don't apply to the current reality in Charlotte. The problem isn't a general statistic. It's visible, concentrated, deadly violence from individuals who are repeatedly failed by both the justice system and the border.
The consequences are just too severe to ignore.
Right, and that's why the state is responding with so much legislative force.
So we've seen how Charlotte is stuck in this paradox. It's statistically safer overall, but it's also facing these intense, deadly surges of violence. And the fear people feel, it isn't irrational. It's a direct response to a fractured system.
Absolutely. This deep dive into your sources shows that policy decisions, from bail reform to immigration cooperation, they have real, tangible and sometimes tragic consequences.
And the state legislature is clearly pushing back against local control, arguing it's the only way to restore safety and the rule of law.
It really is a critical turning point. The question isn't just how safe the city is anymore. It's about who is responsible for that safety and what level of cooperation is required to protect people from this kind of preventable violence.
Especially when you look at a case like Oscar Solorzano's, a man deported 3 separate times, it really forces you to ask a tough question.
It does.
If a criminal who has been deported multiple times is allowed to return and commit a violent crime in a city that refuses to cooperate with federal agencies, does that local government's focus on community trust really outweigh the very visible, very tragic consequences of non-enforcement? You just have to ask yourself, who are these policies truly protecting?